are also one of the partners of the SuperBio Project, which is focused in provide support and partnership for new industrial value chains in the bio-based economy. So what is SuperBio? It's an H2020 project that has been funded under the pillar industrial leadership. The scope of the SuperBio project is the bio-based economy, which uses the biomass and feedstock for producing chemicals, materials, and energy. Okay, it's a working area that have a lot of benefits in terms of decrease the dependence on oil-producing countries, uses the local feedstock, decreases the greenhouse gas emissions, and enables job creation, economic growth, and reindustrialization by putting in value one of the key enabling technologies that is industrial biotechnology. So how are we going to build these value chains for the bio-based economy? The consortium of SuperBio is composed by four different clusters, and 6 service providers that are specialized, very professional in each of them in their particular area, and specialized in the bio-based economy. For the BCNP consultants.
But market research is very important, because the technology itself does not sell itself. You have to have a good overview about the market and the details, who are the players, what is the competition, and maybe what is your unique selling proposition or the value for the customer. And so we can support on this level. And on the other hand, business modeling, I also mentioned these different aspects. Just to have the technology does not mean that you have the right collaboration partners, you know your way to the market, the financial gap you have to overcome, and all these things. And so over here you have the red parts, and this is the fit to SuperBio, where you can ask for support. So the red marked services can be founded by SuperBio, and I will go into details a little bit during the following slides.
We are independent, as we were built up with subsidies together then with regional money. We have no industrial shareholders, and this is really important for small companies who come to us. They don't have to fear that a bigger company is looking over their shoulder what is happening. Their idea is safe with us. This is the challenge. That was 13 years ago. Now it's more difficult, because in the early days they used sugar, they used vegetable oil, and they made, for instance, biofuels. But the real challenge, the more difficult challenge, is to use the waste products, for instance, cellulose, lignin, and make high-value products of it. And that is the big challenge, because in the old days they could just use the technologies that were available. They could use the organisms, for instance, from the beer brewing, the yeast from the beer brewing to make the biofuels, but now you need to engineer the organisms to get there. You need to pre-treat the biomass in order to get the sugars, etc. out. So the challenge is much more difficult now than it used to be. Because in the lab you can make milligrams of the product, but then you want to test the product and the potential client is asking you, give me samples. But you can't give them kilos. So that if you have a pilot plant, you can make sufficient product to give samples to your potential customer. Also in the lab, you work with lab equipment. You do not know how it will behave in industrial equipment. A pilot plant has industrial equipment where you can try the process. You can improve the techno-economics from the process in there. And third of all, then your client says, okay, I will start buying this from you. I want in the first years that much product, but you do not have your production plant yet. Also there, you can use a pilot plant to do the first productions until you know more or less your market, you know how big you need to make your production facility, and then after a couple of years you're ready to make your production facility, and then it will leave the pilot plant.
We can help you evaluate different technology applications for your product and the economic feasibility behind those processes. So, for example, I've recently carried out an evaluation for the island state of Jersey. So they're an island close to the UK, and they want to grow new specialty crops because crops in the past they're losing market value. So I evaluated a range of different crops that they could grow and the types of products they could get from those crops. So we assessed the different technologies that would be required to biorefine products from those crops, and which ones would be the most economically feasible. And that report's been published, and now the farmers on the island of Jersey have started to grow those crops and started to get higher value products from their agricultural land. And regulatory compliance. So we can evaluate a range of criteria based on sustainability, including environmental, social and economic. For example, recently we worked with a coffee manufacturer, and they make these single-service coffee pods which go into coffee machines to make a cup of coffee. But they weren't sure whether those coffee pods were being recycled and what was happening to them at the end of life. So from a brand point of view, but also concerned about the environment, they want to know what different options they have, whether there are alternatives which could be more sustainable, but also whether it be economic to invest in those different products. So we looked at a range of possibilities for them, such as compostable coffee pods, and we looked at a range of sustainability criteria for them. Greenhouse gas emissions from those new products. So for certain products, such as biofuels and bioenergy, these new products have to conform to sustainability criteria for the Renewable Energy Directive. So if you're making biofuels or bioenergy and you want to claim renewable energy subsidies from the government, you'll often have to pass certain criteria, and one of those will be to ensure that it's producing less greenhouse gases than the fossil fuel equivalent. So, for example, NNFCC have already developed a biogas and biomethane carbon calculator, just a commercial product which helps biogas operators to demonstrate compliance with Renewable Energy Directive.
I'd like to highlight to describe the value chain of horticultural crop in the region of Almería, showing his fitness to the principle of bioeconomy agenda, and also thus his susceptibility to grow business opportunities in the bio-based industries context. We all know what to do with biomass, but we should have into account as I mentioned, the principle of bioeconomy strategy. I highlight the innovation, sustainability and growth, and the knowledge-based principle. Also, it is necessary to focus in reducing the heavy dependency on fossil fuels, on fossil resources, and also the creation of growth and jobs. There is a Murphy's law that says that if you see a hole, you can fill with rubbish. So sometimes this rubbish, this biomass is burned. And so obviously the value chain is demanding biomass treatment. How can we transform this value chain? How can we, which kind of uses can we incorporate to biomass treatment? Well, this biomass is rich in lignocellulose, which is a potential source of biofuels, bio-based chemicals, bioblocks, biomaterial. This new business requires multidisciplinary and science-based, as the other step I mentioned. And this is a multidisciplinary, including biotechnology, chemistry, microbiology, genetics, industrial processes, and bacteriological treatment, enzymatic fermentation, even physical treatments. last year in the Bioeconomy Summit of Berlin, planned a biorefinery in this, included in this value chain. Well, there are, I explained, I have been talking about a value chain knowledge base. There are knowledge, there are enough researchers, high qualified technicians. There is a constant biomass supply in a short distance. There are financial entities. The society and the policy is engaged with this project. So this is a map between Adra and Campo Hermoso. There are 150 kilometers or less, and in the middle is the PITA, is the research, is the technological park of Almería. So in a very short way, we have 2 million tons per year of biomass. So the biorefinery approach that we think it can fit to a region like Almería or many other regions in Andalusia has a pyramidal approach. A cluster of SMEs, knowledge-based, which incorporates different treatments to fulfill the maximum of treatments to exploit the added value of this biomass. For example, high-value ingredients, building blocks. How can we do this? We need help. And there is Corporación Tecnológica de Andalucía, there is la Agencia Andaluza del Conocimiento, H2020 Instrument, CDTI, the Bioconsortium, universities, and SuperBio Proyect is an excellent playground to find these business opportunities. I find very interesting assessing intellectual property, patents, surveys, application of this kind of patents, exploitation of existing patents. And also I think SuperBio can boost the creation of companies with international partners, boosting joint venture and attracting investors and even planning market placing strategic that usually entrepreneurs are quite lost at the beginning. So I'm very happy to see this project, and I think it will be very, very useful and interesting for our society.
Okay, so when we talk about the use of plant residues, vegetable residues, for instance, the ones that Professor Gea just mentioned in Almería, we are talking about a green biorefinery. There are a lot of definition about biorefineries based on the use of different feedstocks. But for sure, the one that we would like to have in Almería would be a green biorefinery. A green biorefinery would be one that uses green biomass, residual biomass, green, similar to the ones that they use for growing, for converting permanent grassland, other agricultural residues, etc., or even green crops like alfalfa, clover, etc., etc. What are the main technical hurdles here, the main technical challenges? Well, as in any biorefinery, the pretreatment efficiency, that's, I will explain a little bit about what's the pretreatment. Very important point is standardization of raw material. All of us, when we think a biorefinery, a flexible biorefinery, from the biological point of view, flexibility is a key word. But when you talk with an engineer, with the one that has to develop the plant, flexibility is just the worst thing you can say. Because engineers want something that is stable, constant, etc. So it's very difficult to get a good production facility with different and non-constant raw materials. So that's a very important challenge. Of course, and that's our main work in my company, the process must be very efficient in terms of conversion rates from raw materials to final products. And that's not just biotechnology. Biotechnology is just the conversion, the biological conversion, but there are other technologies, including physical, chemical, etc., technologies that must be very, very efficient. And with this very non-homogeneous and very complex raw materials, that's not that easy. And finally, the integration of all those technologies that I just mentioned, chemical, physical, etc., mechanical, and biological technologies, is a huge challenge for engineers. It's not easy at all to combine all of these technologies in the same plant. Even in a pilot plant, it's very difficult. Not to mention in an industrial plant. So there are a number of challenges to be addressed to get that. Things that I just mentioned. Well, obviously, and that's something that we have learned for the first generation biofuels. The feedstock must be sustainable. That's obvious. That means that there can be competition with food or feed use. And if you want to have something sustainable in the long term, you must use non-food or feed biomass. That's the case, for instance, for the biomass that you will find in Almeria. There's no other use for that biomass. In fact, the producers pay to get rid of the residues, so that's a good example. The raw materials must be available, and that's also obvious, and available in a small area, because otherwise just transportation will do unsustainable the use of that raw material. And if possible, must be not seasonal. It must be continuous or almost continuous. And also, it's not perfect in the case of Almeria, but it's a good opportunity. There are at least 2-3 times during the year that are large amounts of biomass available over there. As I mentioned earlier, the composition must be stable as possible. And a good point in terms of conversion is the low lignin content. It makes life easier to enzymes to work and to decompose the biomass if the lignin is low. And also that's the case with the biomass that we have in Almeria. So in principle, everything looks okay. The biomass in Almeria is a good candidate for a green biorefinery. The amount of the surface involved, etc., and the amount of residual biomass that is produced is around 2 million tons of biomass in a very small area. It depends on that's a publication from the Agricultural Department of Junta de Andalucía. It's very recent, and but depending on the campaign, of course, and the data used is around between 1 million tons and 2 million tons of biomass. Of course, that's a big problem, not just because of the sometimes uncontrolled incineration, and that gives a fire, atmospheric pollution. We have had in Spain two very recent examples of burning of residues, both in Castilla-La Mancha, tires and also chemicals, and in Almeria, from time to time they happen. But also there are other problems, like for instance, disease and pests from waste biomass that affect other crops, and also the contamination of water. So it's not just something that we don't want to see a huge amount of residues when we cross by over there, but also there are even will be health problems if we don't treat it properly. So that's a problem, but there's also an opportunity here. And I try to have to do some numbers about what will be the use of the value of this biomass. I consider 1.75 million tons, metric tons per year of wet biomass. That means in terms of dry biomass around 235,000 tons per year, and with a standard composition of the dry biomass, you can get around 94 million tons per year, 94,000 tons per year of carbohydrate. With a very low value, you give that low value of around 150 euros per ton, which is, I can tell you, a low value. That means around 14 million. Of course, I haven't considered the value of the added product like antioxidants, etc., etc. I just gave it a residual value of 100 euros per metric ton. But maybe we are burning or throwing like 30 million euros per year in terms of value. So I think that's a problem, but of course there's an opportunity there that we can forget, and we have to take care of that. Very, very large, but at the end you have to choose a good final product, an added value product, because despite it's a huge amount, it's not enough for to have a profitable biofuel plant, for instance, or even a low value product at the end. So it's important to have a final product that pays for this conversion.
To us, because the main workshop objectives were present the SuperBio project and the consortium, highlight the relevance for all the bio-based stakeholders. All the stakeholders in the value chain can have an interest in this project, in this construction of the value chain. Not only SMEs that will receive the services, but all the stakeholders would have many high-value products that we can improve the technologies and going to the market. And mainly what we wanted is that we are at the beginning of the project, we have all the funds available at the moment, and it's the moment for arise the possible value chain ideas that you have and you would like to include and you would like to present to the SuperBio projects. Okay, so we are just starting, we have the money, we have all the money right now, and it's the moment to start thinking on which value chain you would like to present to SuperBio. We want to study them, we can work on them, see that if they are eligible. And you have seen the cross-border criteria, you have seen the multi-sector criteria, but we are now in the moment to start working together.